Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Joel, and this is A Stable Life. I hope you guys are just as excited to be here as I am. Today is going to be a pretty exciting episode. We are changing things up. We're starting things off with actually about 5 minutes till lunchtime. That's right, I know all the horses have been fed already this beautiful Friday morning. Thankfully, we had no new issues and we are working on the current ones. So all the horses are doing well. Today, we're gonna be talking about grain, and we're gonna be doing so in depth. This is something you guys have seen sprinkled throughout the episodes through the entirety of the channel's history. Today, we're gonna be actually considering just how much grain we as a stable use for all of our horses, and what grains we use. Quick breakdown. We use 7 grains currently for our horses, and you'll notice they're broken into 2 different areas. The first are grains that we provide for the horses. The second are special needs. So these are grains that are specific to 1 or 2 horses at the stable by request from the owner and can incur an additional fee for board. The main feed that we use is called Landmark Performance. This is our bulk feed. Most of our horses are on this feed. The reason why is because it has 12.5% protein, 14% fiber. That fiber is integral. Not to mention it has a lot of really important ingredients that are really good for the horses. A lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, good stuff. And what's nice is it's all made locally here in Pennsylvania from Pennsylvania Grain, and it's fed to our horses here in Pennsylvania. And what's interesting about that bag is it's only a week old. That is awesome. As for our other feeds, we go to our local feed supply store and we pick everything up bagged and bring it in and store it in these containers. So just how much feed do we use? Well, that's the theme of our episode. Let's take a look and see what our grains are. To help you visually identify each of these feeds, we'll take first a look at the Landmark Performance. Now, most of the grain for the horses is measured out via this scoop. And you can see here, this is what the Landmark Performance looks like. In case you're curious, I have tasted it. It is a nice grain, very fibrous, and honestly, it's kind of bland to me and my human taste buds, but I do know the horses very much enjoy it. The next feed that we provide is Main Menu. And this is a grain that is used for our horses that are well on weight, do not need a lot of vitamins and minerals, and are pretty much healthy. For some of our horses, Main Menu is simply a reward for them coming in because they don't need any additional nutrition. This is Hay Stretcher, which is basically hay that has been pelletized. This is really important for horses that need extra hay in their diet and are not able to get it from eating hay the regular way. We have a couple horses, usually thoroughbreds, that are on this, and this is a great way to condense that hay down and give them that nutrition that they need. Then there is Purina Strategy. Now, Purina Strategy, interestingly enough, is something the donkeys get in the evening, and only one other horse in our stable gets. Purina Strategy is 14% in protein, so it's 2% more than our Landmark Performance, and that's important for horses that are doing gaming or other activities. It also is a little bit lower in fiber, which for horses that have a high metabolism is important because you don't want them pushing through so much food so quickly that they're not getting any nutrition out of it. Then there's the specialty feeds. This is Purina Omega Match. There's only one horse that's on this. That would be for Declan. This is Balancer. This is over 30% in protein, so very important for horses that really need that energy boost. Then there's Calm Ultra. Now, this is a feed that we used to supply for all of our horses before we switched over to Landmark Performance. Calm Ultra is identical to Landmark Performance in every single way. The only difference is that it's made from a different company. That would be from Tribute, and that's made over in Ohio. So today we're going to be getting that big bag out and getting that loaded into our new feed room, as well as making sure we do not damage the handrail. Got to make sure we don't do that. And I'll be by myself, so this will be a little tricky, to say the least. Not to mention, we're running up to our feed store, and we're going to be getting all of our feed bags. We'll add up the weight for everything for the horses, and show you guys just how much feed we go through every month here at our stable. And of course, the amount of horses that we have is updated and listed in the description of every single video. But just in case you want to know exactly how many animals we feed 25 animals, 23 of which are horses, and of course, the other 2 are Rocky and Buster, our miniature donkeys. And you can see which horses are on Landmark Performance which horses are on pelleted hay, which horses are on Calm Ultra, which horses are on main menu, Purina strategy, and balancer. Nice healthy mix. Similar to how not all the horses are the same, we can't all feed the horses the same way. So you guys know for the cattle, it's pretty simple. We put the food out, the cows eat it, put more food out, the cows eat it. It's not that way when it comes to feeding horses. Specifically because each horse has a different diet, and that diet is important if we want those horses to last, we're talking upwards of 25 plus years. Which, in case you're wondering how long a horse usually lasts, that's what I always tell everybody, is we see that horses in captivity last about 25 years. We have a lot of horses here that are over 20, and it used to be about 20 years. We've even had a couple horses well into their 30s, but that is the exception, not the rule. The start of this whole process is this giant big bag here, which is filled of all of our horses' feed. Now this lasts us 5 weeks. So this is the start right here, and this lasts us 5 weeks for our horses, give or take. In the winter, it will last us less. In the summer, it lasts us a little bit more. Very pretty, very nice, very beautiful. The only thing on the farm that's really powerful enough to move this in this tight factor is this forklift, which we're gonna put the pallet spears right through this, and we're then gonna empty that into this. Now this is a repurposed seed container. So when farmers buy a lot of seeds in, they come in this container. It's specifically designed to handle grain. Out here, all you do is pull this, and then that opens up out there, controlling your flow of grain. So we fill this up from that bag. We use my tractor to take the grain into the horse stable and unload it into the feed bins down there. It's a pretty straightforward process. Let's see it in action. Okay guys, let's pick it up. Now this is gonna be pretty heavy. Listen to the sound of the forklift's engine as it's picking this up. That'll tell you just how much weight this is. Woo! Now we're gonna make sure we don't stand underneath that, just on the off chance the hydraulics on the forklift fail. We don't wanna be under that. So we can see right here, this is how we're gonna unload it. Now let's move this into position. Okay, now I'm gonna leave that off the ground because that'll show me the weight and how much weight that's going on the tractor. Quick question I'm gonna answer right before anyone asks it is, how come I don't just take this bag and this forklift down and use just the forklift? The forklift's too high to fit inside the horse stable. It will not make it through. The tractor's the only thing small enough, aside from the skid steer, but the skid steer does not have enough back weight to pick up this much weight. So the skid steer would be too dangerous to drive, which leaves me this is my only option. Another question that you might be wondering is, why don't you just unload this bag? Well, I'll show you why in a few moments. For now, let's lower this. Right there is good. Okay, now this feed that you guys are gonna be seeing, it's also the densest feed we provide. So that means it is going to be the heaviest of all the grains. You can kind of control the flow, but not too much. Okay, well, I'll be honest with you guys. Got a little bit more in this than I wanted to. At the end there, I don't know if you saw that. I really couldn't get the flow stopped. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of weight. Okay, a lot less on the forklift, a lot more on the tractor. Let's go ahead and now make our way down in the stable, and we're gonna do so very gently and very cautiously. Now that we have the big container of feed near our feed bins, we need to direct the flow of grain from here into the feed bins. And what we're using is actually an old John Deere combine auger that has been modified to fit onto these bins. The first bin we're gonna fill is the one on the far left, and we have to make sure that I don't hit the railing, the wall, and that I get that over to where I need it to be. No problem, right? Easy. One, two, three, four, five, six, and then potentially 7 and 8 that we can fill up with this Landmark Performance. So this here gives you the idea why we don't use the giant white bag down here. We can control the flow, a little clever positioning with the tractor, and we are able to now have the flow into this bin. Okay, we have this one heaped. That one's full. Now we're moving on to this one, and we're filling up this one next. And this is now empty. And empty that white bag out, fill this back up, and then we'll take what's left and put it into our remaining feed bins. Now we've got these full, these are full, and this one's almost full. And this is what's left of the remaining Landmark Performance from last month. So we'll take this, put this on top of here, filling this, leaving all these containers open for the next batch of feed. That takes us to the next part. Once we have all of the bulk feed stowed and put away, we now have our smaller feeds. So to help you put an image to all of these random characters and letters, this is Com Ultra, here's Omega Match, here's Main Menu, here's Hay Stretcher, here's Purina Strategy. We'll fill each of them in their own containers. Now it is important that you make sure that the horses always have access to the freshest grain possible. So if we continue to just dump fresh grain on top, that means the grain on the bottom is going to get musty, moldy, bad, or simply it will lose its feed value, and when the horses need it the most, they won't be getting it. For the Omega Match, Hay Stretcher, Purina Strategy, and Com Ultra, I will need to freshen the grain or move the grain that's old out, put the new grain in, and put the old grain on top so it's used first. What we'll do is we will take the feed that is already in here and dump it in another container. Then we will put the fresh bag on the bottom. In situations where we go through the grain on the quicker side of things, like our Com Ultra, and where we have more than one bin, I can put all the new grain in an empty bin and then the remainder in the old bin, and we will continue to use the old bin first, so all the feed is still fresh. This is one of my favorite parts to do, is get the grain leveled off so that the lid can close. Very satisfying. Perfect. Doesn't that just look beautiful? Yeah. Okay. That fits 5 bags perfectly. So with all of the grain put away, that means it's time for some numbers. So how much grain do we go through in a month's time to feed all 23 of our horses? Well, what is in all of these feed containers behind me is 3,100 pounds of grain. And if you were to break that down into bags of feed, we purchase over 62 bags of grain every single month just to feed all of these horses. Now, if you wrap in round bales, currently for the month of August, we used 15 round bales feeding our horses. And if you were to break that down into small square bales, that is 345 small square bales. And this does not include the 60 acres of pasture that the horses are also grazing on. So they go through a lot of feed, a tremendous amount of food every single month. Well, in the winter, let me tell you, 62 bags sounds light. I can tell you that we got as high as 75 bags one year in the month of January. And for hay, last year we peaked at 30 round bales for the month of December. That is equal to 690 small square bales for 1 month. So that is a lot of food that we go through. But when you have a stable this big, you go through quite a lot of feed. And now you guys know just a little bit of what's involved to keeping our horses healthy and happy. Now all of that information goes to one big question. With all of this grain coming into the stable and all of this hay coming into the stable, how do you measure out and know what each horse needs? The simple answer is experience. The more that you are familiar with a horse, the more that you recognize how they are doing. Taking a look at Obi here, we can see that Obi is definitely on the skinnier side. So because of that, Obi gets 6 scoops of Landmark Performance per day, and he also has hay in his stall. You can also judge a horse's behavior. Prime example, I just left the barn. All the horses have turned out. Feeding's completely over with, and Obi's standing here. All of the other horses are out eating grass. They're currently consuming calories, gaining weight. Obi is standing here resting. And I know for a fact that he will stay here till about 10 p.m. every single night. And then he'll leave, and about 6 a.m. every morning, he will be back here and ready to come back in the barn. That is something that is behavioral to Obi. So we, as the owner, need to make sure that we are aware of that fact. So Obi gets a lot more grain. And of course, you also have to consider size. The donkeys do not consume and get near the amount of grain that a horse does. Those are just a few factors that weigh in. Then of course there's minerals and supplements, which are things that you know from experience or a vet recommends for you to have for your horse. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. This was definitely a unique thing, and it was something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, make a dedicated episode about our feed. So now you have this as an answer to any future questions that you may have about how much grain we go through, how much feed goes into taking care of all of our horses per month. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't, don't forget to hit that like button and make sure that you're subscribed. How else are you going to get to see more videos featuring Obi? Am I right, buddy? Yeah. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.